Hello, friends. Oh, it's Eric here. Oh, hot dogging with famous people. I've come down with robot syndrome. When you've got robot syndrome, you talk like a robot. Not a rowboat, a robot. It's morning. I'm awake, sort of. Rachel's still asleep. I got lots of thoughts about people's responses to all my relationship stuff last night and so forth. Like Winter, for example, concluding from that the relationship isn't good. It's what happens when people don't listen to the words I'm saying, you know? How did I sleep last night? I slept quite well indeed. Yes, I did. I slept very well, all about 6 hours, which is pretty good, yeah. Not great, but pretty good number of hours, but I slept very deeply and well. That's kind of more important than the number of hours. If I sleep hard, like, then, which I did last night, then if I don't get a full 8 hours, well, it's fine. I slept hard. Sleep harder, Eric. You're not sleeping hard enough. Don't fondle the produce, please. It's not necessary. Here, what I realized is this morning, it actually is that basically I miss Rachel. You know, I miss my sweet potato and the normal way of being around here, which includes Rachel that's not in the state that she's currently in, you know? But I think I expect her to be more or less over it this morning. By the end of the day yesterday, she seemed to be getting a little bit better. Of course, one of the complaints she has, and it's something I got to think about some, is that, you know, she doesn't like that I yelled at her yesterday. A lot of people don't like that I yell at people. Like, you know, Octavia Silva was saying, you know, you were yelling at her. Well, yeah, I was yelling at her. I don't get, like, why is it such a big deal that I yell at somebody? Why are we paying attention to that instead of what I'm yelling at them about? It's not like I yell at people randomly for no reason. You're not interrupting my thought process. Who's reading Carl Jung's Psychological Types? That doesn't sound like a very good use of time to me. Not that I'm sure this is a very good use of time, but it probably isn't a bad use of time. I get a lot of views actually on these live streams over the course of a few hours. Now that this channel doesn't seem to be being suppressed anymore, I'm doing this pretty well in terms of numbers like that. I don't think I get any money out of it really. I guess you got to be super big, and then people live chat you. Super chat you. Like, Frank James gets super chatted a bunch. He must make a shit ton of money off of each of those live streams. Brain's going to fight or flight response when a certain volume of speech is reached. You get loud, people shut down. It's basic instinct response. I mean, the thing is this. I'm getting louder because the person's not listening to me. It doesn't start off with them shutting down. It starts off with them not listening. not hearing me, not letting me be heard and being impacted by my words. They were ignoring them one way or the other. I'm getting yeah-butted or, you know, the problem is this. My words will solve the problem, whatever it is, unless you fight that process. You fight against that process. If somebody's fighting against that process, I start getting louder because they're not hearing me. So if in fact I get loud enough and they shut down, no loss. No loss. Natural consequence of them having shut down before I started yelling. Not being cooperative or responsive when before I started yelling. There's no loss if they shut down. They were already shut down. They were already refusing to be useful or helpful in any possible way towards solving a problem. Otherwise, I wouldn't be yelling at them. They'd already shut down in terms of being breathable in exchange and being agreeable to words being meaningful and purposeful. So there's no loss, What's the loss? The only problem is with somebody like Rachel, I don't want her to hurt her feelings or anything. I don't want her to feel bad. And she doesn't deserve for me to yell at her because it's not her fault. So with Rachel, it's a different story. And I don't want to yell at Rachel. I really don't. But that's the bottom line that I keep coming across in life is the people who say like they don't like my tone or I'm yelling or whatever else. They never want to pay attention to what I'm yelling at about, They never want to pay any attention to that. But the thing I'm yelling about is always much worse than the yelling. In fact, the reason I'm yelling is worse than the yelling. The reason I'm yelling is because you weren't responsive in the first place. If you're responsive, I don't have to be louder. And, people don't like that because it's like, well, you're trying to control the frame, Eric. No, I'm not. I'm not trying to control the frame. Everybody else is trying to control the frame. I'm trying to be fair and reasonable and just. And that's the only frame that we should both be using. Not because I'm controlling it, because it's the only fair and just and right one. This is the trouble in life. Yeah, this is the trouble I have in life in particular. It's like I have good clarity about a lot of different things that a lot of other people are uncertain about. Well, that's fine. All anybody has to do is say, I need a second to process this. And I respect that. One thing I do forget, and it's an honest mistake on my part, but I'd like to try to do a better job of remembering, is the speed of talking. I can get out a lot of information and a lot of meaning in a short period of time. And the fact is, I've heard from multiple people that they can't process stuff that fast. And so I'm wasting my time getting more information out if I'm going too fast. And so it's something I have to work on. One defaults to one's own nature. And for me, my nature is I can process language extremely fast. This is not just by nature and cognitive function stack, but by practice as well. I am a debate coach, and I have to practice, and have practiced plenty of times, processing language being spit out at as fast as people can talk it out. So I'm used to, I have well practiced the art of picking out the cogent elements in a spread of language very quickly. And no, it's basically the skill of knowing what to ignore and what to pick up. So it's like you basically ignore all the modifiers. So And of course, I practice reading out loud really fast too, or spreading, which is a skill in debate. I use the open window as my speed drill test for kids who aren't actually in debate yet or something. If you're actually in debate, then you do speed drills on the stuff you're reading in rounds, not on just random shit. But I do this periodically, and I'm going to do it right now. I enjoy doing it. It's the story The Open Window by Saki. There's a big long paragraph in it. Starts with out through that window and ends with in through that window. And the thing is, for people who can spread really fast, you can read that whole paragraph in 30 seconds. I can only sometimes succeed in doing this. It's right. I have to be perfect. You have to be perfect to get it. I'm not 30. Yeah, 30 seconds timer. Okay. So, no, not this. All right, reset. So, let me pull this out so I can push the button on that without meowing. All right, here we go. Now, if you'd like to try this yourself, which is a fun little self-test to see how fast you can spread, I'm going to put the link to the story right here. It's the big paragraph that begins. It's a very short story, so it's easy to find what I'm talking about. There's one large paragraph in it that begins with out through that window and ends with in through that window. So the 30 seconds is, you'll see how it goes right now. And the way to do this, if you want to try it yourself and you want us to see if you can get all the way through it in 30 seconds, the key thing to do in speed reading is to not read any punctuation. In other words, treat it as though there's no punctuation in it at all. All right, here we go. Out through that window 3 years ago to a day, her husband and her two young brothers went off for their day shooting. They never came back, and crossing the moor to their favorite time shooting ground. They were all three engulfed in a treacherous piece of bog. It had been that dreadful wet summer, the places that were safe in other years gave way suddenly without warning. Their bodies were never recorded. That dreadful part of it. Hurry up, let me start over. I got a lightheaded from doing that breathing thing. Okay. I started to faint. Out through that window 3 years ago to a day, her husband and her two young brothers went off for their day shooting. They never came back, and crossing the moor to their favorite time shooting ground. They were all three engulfed in a treacherous piece of bog. It had been that dreadful wet summer, places that were safe in other years gave way suddenly without warning. Their bodies were never recovered. That was the dreadful part of it. Here, the child's voice lost its self-possessed note and became falteringly human. Poor aunt always thinks they will come back someday. They and the little brown spaniel were lost with them and walked in that window just as they used to do. That is why it kept quite open till every evening till it's quite desperate. Poor dear aunt, she has often told me how they went out. Her husband with a white waterproof coat over his arm and running. Her younger brother singing "Pretty Why Do You Bound," as he always did to tease because she said God on her nerves. Sometimes I'm still quite evenings like this. I get feeling, so I didn't make it because I fucked it up. Hi, Rachel.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good. I'm just gonna Did you get new bud?
Yes, right there.
Okay. Thanks.
I'm gonna try it again because I can do it in 30 seconds if I do it right. Nail it. Out through that window 3 years ago to a day, her husband and his two young brothers went off for the day shooting. They never came back, and crossing the moor to their favorite time shooting ground. They were all three engulfed in a treacherous piece of bog. It had been that dreadful wet summer, in places that were safe in other years gave way quite suddenly without warning. Their bodies were never recovered. That was the dreadful part of it. Here, the child's voice lost its self-possessed note and became falteringly human. Poor aunt always think they will come back someday. They and the little brown spaniel that was lost with them and walked in that window just as they used to do. That is why the window was kept open every evening until it was quite dusk. Poor dear aunt, she has often told me how they went out. Her husband with a white waterproof coat over his arm and running. Her youngest brother singing "Birdie, Why Do You Bound," as he always did to tease her because she said it got on her nerve. Sometimes on. Out through that window 3 years ago to a day, her husband and her two young brothers went off for the day shooting and never came back. And crossing the morning, their favorite stuff shooting ground, they were all three engulfed in a treacherous piece of bog in that dreadful wet summer. In places that were safe, but other years gave way suddenly without warning. Their bodies were never recovered. That was a dreadful part of it. Here, the child's voice lost itself to this down and became falteringly human. Poor on always think they will come back someday. They and the little brown spaniel was lost to them and walking that window just as they used to do. That is why the window was kept open every evening until it was quite desperate. Here on, she has often told me how they went out. Her husband with a waterproof coat over his arm and Ronnie, her brother singing pretty whitey band. He always did tease her because she said it got on her. So you know that sometimes after the quiet evenings like this, almost get a creepy feeling that while walking through that window, fucking hell, I almost got it. So that's hard to do, you know. Well, if I get a good, I should publish that. You know, I say speed reading test. You want to test yourself, see how fast you can read. You win if you can get all that done in 30 seconds. I didn't win today, you know. It takes. I should have warmed up a little bit. I could probably win this time. I gotta try it one more time. I'm sorry. I know that's annoying. I have to try it one more time. Just let me try it one more time. I'm gonna get it. Here we go. One more time. This time's gonna be perfect. This is the last time, even if I don't get it. Out through that window 3 years ago to today, her husband and her two young brothers went off for the day shooting and never came back. And crossing the morning, their favorite stuff shooting ground, they were all three engulfed in a treacherous piece of bog in that dreadful wet summer. In places that were safe in other years gave way suddenly without warning. Their bodies were never recovered. That was the dreadful part of it. Here, the child's voice lost itself to this note and became falteringly human. Poor aunt always thinks they will come back someday. They and the little brown spaniel was lost to them and walking that window just as they used to do. That is why the window was kept open every evening until it was quite desperate. Her aunt, she has often told me how they went out. Her husband with a white waterproof coat over his arm, and Ronnie, her younger brother, singing Birdie Whitey Banners. She always did tease her because she said it got on her nerves. Sometimes it's so quiet evenings like this, almost get a creepy feeling they're all walking through the window. Boom! Boom! I got it. I won. So that's how you win at that game. If you get it all in 30 seconds like that, you win. If you can do it all in one breath, that helps a lot. If you have to take a breath, that costs you at least a full second, maybe two. I've had in my various debate classes I used to teach at Kudos, which the survey classes, we always did this because something the kids like to do. And we'd have a contest to see who could get the most of it. And I only had a couple of students in all of my classes for years who were able to do it. There was one girl I remember in one of my later classes at Kudos. It was a full class, and because by the end of my time at Kudos, there was a long waiting list to get into any of my classes. So she was fast, and I don't remember what her name was, but she was faster than me by a good couple of seconds, and clean. I was just like, "Welcome to debate." Hello, hi. I'm no longer Teacher Eric. I'm now Coach Eric, and congratulations, you just made the debate team. Those survey classes, that's what I'd use them for, right? I'd pick out the best kids from them and move them into the debate classes. They were just recruiting grounds for me, basically. This is a very short story, but I'm going to read it out loud to you guys because it's such a good story. My aunt will be down presently, Mr. Nuttall, said a very self-possessed young lady of 15. In the meantime, you must try and put up with me. Frampton Nuttall endeavored to say the correct something which should duly flatter the niece of the moment, without unduly discounting the aunt that was to come. Privately, he doubted more than ever whether these formal visits on a succession of total strangers would do much toward helping the nerve cure which he was supposed to be undergoing. I know how it will be, his sister had said when he was preparing to migrate to this rural retreat. You'll bury yourself down there and not speak to a living soul, and your nerves will be worse than ever from moping. I shall just give you letters of introduction to all the people I know there. Some of them, as far as I can remember, were quite nice." Frampton wondered whether Mrs. Sappleton, the lady to whom he was presenting one of the letters of introduction, came into the nice division. "Do you know many of the people round here?" asked the niece, when she had judged that they had had sufficient silent communion. "Hardly a soul," said Frampton. "My sister was studying here at the rectory, some 4 years ago, and she gave me letters of introduction to some of the people here." He made the last statement in a tone of distinct regret. "Then you know practically nothing about my aunt?" pursued the self-possessed young lady. "Only her name and address," admitted the caller. He was wondering whether Mrs. Sappleton was in the married or widowed state. An undefinable something about the room seemed to suggest masculine habitation. "Her great tragedy happened just 3 years ago," said the child. "That would be since your sister's time." "Her tragedy?" said Frampton. Somehow, in this restful country spot, tragedy seemed out of place. "You may wonder why we keep that window wide open on an October afternoon," said the niece, indicating a large French window that opened onto a lawn. "It is quite warm for the time of the year," said Frampton. "But has that window got to do anything with the tragedy?" "Yes, well, out through that window 3 years ago to a day, her husband and her 2 young brothers went off for their day's shooting. They never came back. In crossing the moor to their favorite snipe shooting ground, they were all 3 engulfed in a treacherous piece of bog. It had been that dreadful wet summer, and places that were safe in other years gave way suddenly without warning. Their bodies were never recovered. That was the dreadful part of it." Here the child's voice lost its self-possessed note and became falteringly human. "Poor aunt always thinks they will come back some day, they and the little brown spaniel that was lost with them, and walk in at that window just as they used to do. That is why the window is kept open every evening till it is quite dusk. Poor dear aunt! She has often told me how they went out, her husband with his white waterproof coat over his arm, and Ronnie, her youngest brother, singing 'Bertie, why do you bound?' as he always did to tease her because she said it got on her nerves. Do you know, sometimes on still, quiet evenings like this, I almost get a creepy feeling that they will all walk in through that window." She broke off with a little shudder. It was a relief to Frampton when the aunt bustled into the room with a whirl of apologies for being late in making her appearance. "I hope Vera has been amusing you," she said. "She has been very interesting," said Frampton. "I hope you don't mind the open window," said Mrs. Sappleton briskly. "My husband and brothers will be home directly from shooting. They always come in this way. They've been out for a snipe in the marshes today, so they'll make a fine mess over my poor carpets. So like you men folk, isn't it?" She rattled on cheerfully about the shooting and the scarcity of birds and the prospects for duck in the winter. To Frampton, it was all purely horrible. He made a desperate but only partially successful effort to turn the talk onto a less ghastly topic. He was conscious that his hostess was giving him only a fragment of her attention. Her eyes were constantly straying past him to the open window and the lawn beyond. It certainly was an unfortunate coincidence that he should have paid his visit on this tragic anniversary. "The doctors agree in ordering me complete rest and absence of mental excitement and avoidance of anything in the nature of violent physical exercise," announced Frampton, who labored under the tolerably widespread delusion that total strangers and chance acquaintances are hungry for the least detail of one's ailments and infirmities, their causes and cure. "On the matter of diet, they are not so much in agreement," he continued. "No," said Mrs. Sappleton in a voice which only replaced a yawn at the last moment. Then she suddenly brightened into alert attention, but not to what Frampton was saying. "Here they are at last," she cried. "Just in time for tea. And don't they look as if they were muddy up to the eyes?" Frampton shivered slightly and turned towards the niece with a look intended to convey sympathetic comprehension. But the child was staring out through the open window too, with a dazed horror in her eyes. In the chill shock of nameless fear, Frampton swung round in his seat and looked in that same direction. There in the deepening twilight, 3 figures were walking across the lawn towards the window. They all carried guns under their arms, and one of them was additionally burdened with a white coat hung over his shoulders. A tired brown spaniel kept close to their heels. Noiselessly, they neared the house, and then a hoarse young voice chanted from the dusk, I said, Bertie, why do you bound? Frampton grabbed wildly at his stick and hat. The hall door, the gravel drive, and the front gate were dimly noted stages in his headlong retreat. A cyclist coming along the road had to run into the hedge to avoid imminent collision. Oh, here we are, my dear, said the bearer of the white mackintosh, coming in through the window. Barely muddy, but most of it's dry. Who was that who bolted out as we came up? A most extraordinary man, Mr. Nuttall, said Mrs. Appleton. Could only talk about his illnesses and dashed off without a word of goodbye or apology when you arrived. One would think he had seen a ghost. I expect it was the spaniel, said the niece calmly. He told me he had a horror of dogs. He was once hunted into a cemetery somewhere on the banks of the Ganges by a pack of pariah dogs and had to spend the night in a newly dug grave with the creature snarling and grinning and foaming just above him, enough to make anyone lose their nerve. Romance at short notice was her specialty. How great is that story? How amazing is that story? It's an amazing, amazing story. It's so cleverly done. It's such a brilliant piece of work. It's like it's delightful. It's absolutely delightful because she just makes up this bullshit to tell this guy to visit, knowing that they're gonna come in the house and he's gonna be all terrified. He runs off, and so then when he runs off, and they go, well, why did he just run off? She goes, oh, and she makes up this other story. Oh, one time he was down someplace in the Ganges River, and a pack of wild pariah dogs surrounded him, and he had to hide in the bottom of a grave, and they were above him, snarling down all night long. And he's probably scared of dogs as a consequence, and that's why your arrival with the dog made him run away in terror. Isn't that a delightful story? That girl in that story has got to be an ENTP. I'm going to ask you for a little bit to chat amongst yourselves. I want to go chat with Rachel a bit. That was a very calm conversation, but not very productive. We're kind of at the same place we were yesterday. I'm saying to her, she's saying she wants to do a trial run. I'm saying, well, we're not back together yet. You haven't convinced me you want me. You want me to get back together with you after you break up with me, you got to convince me you actually want me back. I'm not convinced. You're telling me you might want me back. So, she's been sleeping. She slept really well last night. She's going back to sleep now. But she doesn't want to operate in that frame. She's stubborn. I'm stubborn too, I guess, in that regard. Because she broke up with me, it's reasonable for me to say, we're not getting back together until you convince me you want me. Because she keeps hedging on this point. I mean, it is what it is. What I said to Rachel right now was also I want to find out when the next conversation with the psychiatrist is. I want her to run these notions by the psychiatrist. I want to see what he says about it. Is her concerns reasonable? So, Kitty's playing like a kitten right now with this hair tie thing. It's a little demoralizing, but it is what it is. It's isn't that a great story? He's a great writer. He's such a gem. He writes little gems of stories, and I love the way his stories feel in my mouth as I read them. If I could go back in history and hang out with somebody for a stretch of time like that question people ask, like, who do you want to hang out with from history? I would love to hang out with that guy. I'd like to talk to him about writing. I'd like to just listen to him talk to me. He had to be an ENTP. He had to be. I guess he could have been an INFJ, maybe, but that's ENTP style language. He could have been an INTP. INTP or ENTP. He's an NTP. Possibly INTP, but I seems a little FE aware for INTP, so I'm going to go ENTP. I would like to talk to somebody who, is an expert on relationships as to whether or not her thinking here is actually a justifiable reason to doubt the relationship's viability. My basic point is she never addressed it with me in any way other than as a means of questioning that we're right for each other. And she never said, here's something that I wonder if we can talk about regarding, that this there's a problem I'm seeing here. Can we fix it? Instead, she went straight to the problem I'm seeing here. This must be the wrong thing for me. That's frustrating. Really frustrating. Saki, H. Monroe. His name's H. Monroe, but he writes under the pen name Saki, Saki. He was at his best at short stories. I don't know if he ever really wrote any novels or not. I'm not sure of all of his body of work. I really should look into it because he's, I would say, for sure my favorite writer. Uh, if I had to pick one, I would pick him. Another writer I like a lot is Sherwood Anderson, who who wrote perhaps the best story about ENTPs ever written. Right, but the thing is, what I'm saying is, we each have a responsibility to constrain our dominant function when it is leading us astray. So I could spend my time using my dominant function, um, ideating about other people I might want to be with, for example. Well, that's not okay in a relationship. You have to constrain it. She could spend her time ideating always about possible problems that mean we shouldn't be together, but she shouldn't, because what it means to be in a relationship with somebody is to afford the benefit of the doubt that things are going to work out. It's like once you take, it's like taking a job. You've got some job offers. You take one of the job offers, and then you do your best to do that job for a stretch of time. If in fact over time it turns out that this is not working, then you try to make some changes to the job that would make it work for you if possible. And if that doesn't work, then you get out of it. But you don't spend your time thinking about which job you should take after you've taken one. You don't go, maybe I shouldn't have taken this job. You may have to quit it, but you don't say, maybe I shouldn't have taken it. It's like you're no longer evaluating whether or not the job should be taken. That period of time is over. You've chosen that job. So now it's time to do that job as best you can. And if in fact you're miserable in it, fine. But having one or two bad days at work does not count as miserable. And you've got to be realistic about the fact that you have alternatives. Even if it's not the perfect job, if you're going to leave this job and get another job, you better be confident that the job you're going to get after this job is going to be better than this job, right? So in other words, maybe being in a relationship with me causes her some distress when I'm on Adderall and working on shit. But that's not a reason to leave me, unless, in fact, you're demanding perfection or you think there's somebody better. Or you think you'll be happier by yourself. Any of those things are prime reasons, but she doesn't seem to be doing that at all. She's not saying she's going to be happier by herself, or that she thinks there's a better man out there for her, or that she's saying she wants to do a trial run. I mean, we've been going out for 7 months. What the hell does that mean? After she breaks up with me, she says, basically, okay, I'll get back together with you, but I only want to do a trial run. It's like, is it wrong of me to go, no, you need to convince me you want me before I'm going to get back together with you. Right now, it sounds like you want me to be your little bitch. I miss her. It's depressing. She's not being fair at all to me. She went back to bed. She didn't want to. She didn't want to talk about it with me in a real way. She said, "Yeah, I want to get back together. I want to do a trial run." I said, "But no, Rachel. The point is, before we can talk about anything like that, you need to convince me you actually want me back, because otherwise, I'm not going to get back together with you." You know. And she got upset about that and went back to bed. So I don't know. I know I'm not going to be in a relationship where I'm auditioning, right? I'm not going to do that. Where she gets to have the comfort and confidence of knowing I want to be with her, but I don't get to have the equivalent. I'm not. I just can't do that. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm being put in a position where I have to draw a line of sorts, because otherwise I can't respect myself. I'm not going to respect myself if I get back together with her under these terms. And it's not going to work out at all, because I'll be persistently thinking, why am I the little bitch here? So that's not going to happen. It's like, and the fact that she wants that she would think that that's a reasonable thing to want, namely that I agree to a trial thing for a while after we've been going out for 7 months. It hurts, but I guess I'm used to it. This is the story of my life. It's like I start going out with someone. I do my best as a partner to get to a point where we're comfortable and we don't have to think about that stuff anymore. And then all of a sudden, it's like, you know what, Eric, I don't like you after all. And it's like, okay, God, I wish you would. Why do you wait until after I'm relaxed? Yeah, come on in, Dad.
Oh, I'm going to move your car.
Okay.
Just to.
You want me to move it? I can move it.
Is everything okay?
Yeah, Rachel's back in bed.
I'm sorry?
Said, yeah, Rachel went back to bed. So, my dad's a little worried about Rachel. But here's the thing, and this is one thing I wanted to talk about with, as far as everybody in the chat and in the comments and stuff, is I don't know what a trial means. It's like she's like, well, we need to see how it goes with living together. Not lived together before. It's like, we've lived together for 5 over 7 months, and that just seems to fall on deaf ears. She says, I'm just not happy. But the thing is, it's not the case that this relationship is causing so much pain. It is the case that for about a week now, we've had problems. Prior to that, it was I haven't found that to be the case. We got along great together and have always been fine together. Her thing was, well, it's because we were traveling a lot this last time. Okay, well, what? It's like, but I was on Adderall that whole time. So she's pointing to the reason we got along so well and we're so happy during the traveling time as that we were traveling. I point out that I was on Adderall. Then she says, well, I may not have said anything, but it was bothering me then too. Okay, but you've just agreed that, during the traveling time, we were really happy and that the reason is because we were traveling. So are you sure that the Adderall definitely didn't negatively impact you then because you were really happy? We all agree on that. And you were really happy with me and with life in general. So is it possible that it's the lack of doing things that's bothering you rather than the the Adderall? It's like, we are all locked down here in quarantine. It adds some certain stress to our being. But the point is, even if it's true that the Adderall is a problem, one thing that we've always said, and I've always believed, is that if something's bothering her, she lets me know. So when I say, I think this is bothering you for the first time right now, everything that's happened before is suggested that is in fact the case. She said before, like, oh, if something bothers me, I bring it up right away. Now she's saying, well, it's been bothering me for a long time, but I didn't bring it up. Well, I don't believe that. That's not what the data showed from before. So, so I don't think any of the things she's saying or kind of thinking she's doing is clear, sane thinking exactly. By which I mean, I'm not actually experiencing systemic problems that suggest it's not a good relationship. We don't keep fighting over the same thing. This is the first time she's ever mentioned the Adderall thing. On Friday, she was upset and wanted to leave me for a different reason entirely. When I mentioned that yesterday, she said maybe it's both of them. So I don't know. I'm trying my best to figure it all out. Hi, baby cakes. Yeah, sure. Do you want me to turn this off, mute it?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Okay, so I've asked Rachel if I could unmute this, and she said yes. And one of her concerns, of course, is that, well, this is, you guys are my friends, you're going to side with me and stuff. And I've indicated to her that, and I believe it's a totally correct indication, that as a matter of fact, people here are tend to indicate to me what I'm doing wrong in things, which is good. And that I hope you remember that my goal here is for the right decision to ultimately be made for Rachel, especially. And it is not to blame or condemn anybody, especially not Rachel. So her point was she doesn't want to be in a relationship where she's only happy some of the time, and she's not sure this is the right thing. We've come from that in the past where we were with somebody and some things about them we liked and some things we didn't like, and we're only happy some of the time. Which of course raises the question, what comprises sufficient amount of happiness or success in a relationship to justify staying in the relationship, and how much unhappiness or discomfort does the relationship need to cause before it justifies you leaving that relationship? Now, you've mentioned, Rachel, that when I went on Adderall this time, you felt neglected.
Yeah. I mean, you've always warned me about it, and like I've been with you when you've been on it before.
This time was different?
Kind of.
Yeah, it was a little different. So the thing is, I respect that you've got a legitimate complaint here, that in fact I got a little too lost and stuff. But the thing is, you can talk to me about that before it becomes a big problem for you. And you can talk to me about that as something that we might need to address without using it to call into question the viability of the relationship. And breaking up with me, I mean, do you think that was like, what was the urgency? What were you thinking at the time when you determined that you needed to break up with me then?
Whether that would be a pattern or not, whether I would have to get used to you, the way you are off Adderall and the way that you are on Adderall. Like, okay, so I know that when he's not on Adderall, I'm more comfortable being like affectionate and loving towards him because I get a reaction. However, I also know that when he's on Adderall, he likes more space from me, and if I ask for like cuddles and stuff, or if I ask for a kiss, he responds, but it's like the focus isn't on the relationship, it's on work, and the contrast is there. So I notice the contrast and it makes me feel uneasy because I've been with a workaholic before, and it was ultimately the death of our relationship.
And can you explain to me why it was?
Because he was never around.
Okay, so what does never around mean? That he would be, you wouldn't see him for a day or two?
Yeah, it started out a day or two and then it increased.
Okay.
He got more and more comfortable with the fact that we're afforded to be able to be really in relationships where we don't have to see each other anymore because technology lets us speak to each other and keep in contact from a distance.
All right. Well, in this case, remember, in both pieces of work that I was working on, I actually included you in both projects. And additionally, that I was trying to get that work done during periods of time when I was hoping you would be asleep. And so that, I'm aware of the burden on my partner that when I go into a work phase, that burden puts on them. I I take steps to try to mitigate that, but you went from 0 to 100. In other words, I didn't get any sort of warning that you needed more attention from you. I just got, I'm breaking up with you. And so that tells me you're not using your introverted intuition as you could use it. In other words, you may intuit that there's a problem here, but if your introverted intuition were not being directed exclusively towards the negative, you'd have to see the larger picture, which is, I'm definitely the right person for you, and that in those times when you're feeling neglected, there's an indication there that you need to find some interests and passions of your own to pursue during those times a little bit. That we both need to have times where we're working on our independent projects. I'm not like your workaholic ex-boyfriend. And your introverted intuition would tell you that in no uncertain terms too. That whereas when you talk to him about this, presumably, you made no progress. You haven't even tried to talk to me about it. Just because we both have come from previous relationships where the other party failed in ways that seem to extrapolate out from a given behavior. It doesn't mean that when we see an equivalent behavior in our partner that we're going to do that. And that's the problem here, is you're assuming I'm like other people. I am not like other people.
Well, it wasn't that I thought that you were him. I just don't like, alright, fine. I need more hobbies and stuff. I said that I need to make more friends. I don't want to be around when you're working.
Okay,
Because
well,
I know that it's just not comfortable. But,
look, Rachel, the bottom line is, for the vast majority of our time together, I'm present.
yeah.
Emotionally, spiritually, physically.
No, you're right.
When I'm not present emotionally and spiritually, it's because I'm occupied with something that's very work intensive in front of me. I'm still present physically, and I can be made to be present emotionally and spiritually, as you've indicated. If you approach me about it, I'm there for it. But you don't really want to yourself. I do want, in a larger sense, for you to be happy, and for my nature and ways to not cause us problems.
Well, I want everyone to be happy, and I don't like the fact that your dad has to worry about, what I'm gonna do. I don't like that you have to worry about, whether I'm gonna go nuts or not. And I also don't like that you have to worry about whether I'm gonna break up with you or not. I don't think those are healthy things. I don't think those are things that people would brag about. I really think that, when people hear about us now, they realize, I don't know, maybe what they were thinking all along was right. I'm not sure. I don't know how the YouTube community really feels, but I don't. I mean, fine, let's give it a shot. But I really don't.
I obviously want to give it a shot too, Rachel, but you're just not hearing me. You're just not hearing me. It's like you would never tolerate what you're doing to me. You would never allow yourself to be in a relationship that's positioned like that.
Right, and that's what I feel like the people who love you are trying to say to you.
No, it doesn't matter what they're saying to me. It matters what I'm saying to you. You should want me back.
I do.
But you're unwilling to convince me of that you want me.
I don't know how.
Well, I mean, what I've indicated is that being in a healthy relationship means making sure that both parties feel safe. So the obvious thing to do would be saying words that would make me feel safe, that would suggest that you have heard what I've said and are applying that information to make decisions about what to say to me now. But I don't think you agree with anything I'm saying, so you're not going to apply it as a consequence.
Okay, what's one of the things that I should agree to?
I mean, you have to decide first and foremost if this objection of yours makes your uncertainty about the relationship a legitimate uncertainty, or if this perception of yours that this is a problem, if that in fact is the problem. In other words, like every relationship, every couple has bumps in the road. The biggest problem we have is that you interpret those bumps in the road in a way that causes me to be treated unfairly and not feel safe in the relationship.
You're right.
So to convince me that we should be together is to convince me that we're on the same page regarding how to interpret things. In other words, if you're still saying to me, I'm just not sure because I don't like the way you act here, or I'm not happy in this context, well, then we're not on the same page. Because what you're saying is, I can both be in this relationship and be evaluating whether I should be in this relationship at the same time. You have to be in the relationship means you've accepted a job offer. That means you're no longer thinking about whether or not you should accept the job offer. Now, you may end up quitting that job, but you're not thinking about, is this a good job for me? Unless it's causing you a lot of discomfort. And even then, you have to think, what's going to happen when I quit this job? Am I going to prefer the thing afterwards? In other words, compare against the alternatives, not against an ideal.
And I'm afraid that people are giving you good advice.
Nobody's giving me any advice. I'm fighting with everybody on here about everything. The only people who I'm not fighting with are those who are saying what I'm already saying, which is that I need to wait until I'm sure you mean what you say, that you know what you're saying, you mean what you say, and it's totally legit. And then I will let you go if you're convinced that you, in fact, don't want to be with me. But right now, I know that when you broke up with me, that there was absolutely zero urgency to do so. And so I just can't conclude that that was a sane time for you, no matter how reasonable sounding some things you were saying sounded, because there was absolutely no urgency and you could easily enough have waited till morning and you insisted on breaking up even right then. I can conclude that was not a sane act on your part, and I can forgive it and let it go. But in order for me to understand that it was not a sane act on your part, I need you to be in the opposite spot. In other words, you're not saying to me that my concerns were not valid at all. I was just being crazy. You're saying to me, look, I really do have all these concerns. I guess I overreacted in the moment and broke up with you, but they really are genuine concerns.
It's definitely the latter.
So, I mean, what you're saying is that you're still determined to interpret bumps in the road as potential reasons not to be with me. And if that's the case, if that's your frame that you're going to operate under, then I can't get back together with you until we change that, until I'm convinced that you understand that this particular bump in the road you're seeing, to the extent that you interpret it as indicative of a problem with the relationship, you are interpreting it through the wrong frame. Right now you're saying, no, I'm interpreting it through the right frame. So we're not on the same page yet. So, I mean, you see what I'm saying? I'm saying...
So what's the first option?
My point is, I'm hopeful that you would agree that in fact, the thing you're identifying as a potential problem is not to be framed like that. That it must be framed only as something that is a bump in the road. That because Eric is so able to listen, hear, respond, and be fair about everything I say, I don't ever have to worry about there being a persistent problem over time. All I have to do is worry about voicing my perceptions in the right way.
Okay, that's what I go with.
Okay. I mean, you know, I appreciate your interest and willingness to find out what you can do to make this better. So, okay, well, I don't know what our current status is exactly.
I don't want to be broken up.
You don't want to be broken up?
No.
Okay. So, I don't want to be broken up either, obviously. But when I asked you a little while ago, well, how do I know you're not just going to break up with me again? You didn't have any answer for me. It was just like, I don't know. You don't, or something.
I mean, what if like down the line something happens and it's a deal breaker for me?
Well, we've talked about all this before. If you can't do that, fight it out until you're tired of fighting thing, then you break up with me, but it's you only do it once and it's permanent and you're serious, right? So it's like, I get that. Let's say one day I come home and I'm stinking drunk and you go, this is a deal breaker, I'm out of here. You don't need to fight with me about that for any extended period of time. I get it, there's a deal breaker emerged. But deal breakers are very like distinct things. Like, you go get drunk, Eric, that's a deal breaker. That'd be a fine deal breaker. You never said that to me, but it would be a fine one. Or you go cheat, Eric, that's a deal breaker. Or you do me, that's a deal breaker. Those things are deal breakers. Not you feel unhappy with me right now. That's not a deal breaker. It can't ever be a deal breaker. Deal breakers have to be something precise and specific that happened. It can't be just, I've decided now that I don't like you during this period of time, so I'm breaking up with you.
Yeah, I know. It would be something.
Okay, so in other words, do you think that what you experienced this time it made you upset and feeling neglected and stuff? Do you think that would comprise a deal breaker?
Well, it's something that I don't want to get used to. So
I don't want
if
you
it
to-
happened again, then yeah, it would be.
So you're saying if I get distracted by work again, you're going to break up with me again?
Like, I don't want to feel neglected.
But Rachel,
You know what? I don't know any of the answers for you.
well, this is what I'm trying to figure out. Am I going to be safe? Obviously, I'm going to get distracted by work again. I'm not always going to be paying attention to you 24 hours a day.
I know that. It's not. It's just so different. I would rather.
Rachel, if you can't tell me that, if you're going to tell me that I need to be constantly walking on eggshells or you're going to break up with me at any moment, then no, I'm not going to get back together with you.
Okay.
And that's what you're trying to tell me, right?
Yeah.
That if you feel neglected again, regardless of whether I've done anything, no, your feelings neglected does not mean I did anything bad to you at all.
Yeah, you're right.
So why don't you go back to bed like you were planning to, and we'll wait another day and we'll try talking about it again tomorrow. Because right now you're not.
Maybe tomorrow will be like the day. We would figure something out, you know?
Yeah, maybe tomorrow we'll figure it out. There's no taking.
Like decision. Like we'll decide tomorrow whether to continue or not. Because I don't want to drag things on for you.
But that's fine. Listen, Rachel.
You deserve freedom.
There's no ticking clock. I am understanding that right now is a time for you to go through the medication change, and that in a few days, in a week, or whatever, there's no hurry. We can stay in the status of undefinedness until we're back on the same page or determine we're not on the same page.
Look, like, I feel like there's more minuses than pluses.
Why are you in such a hurry?
Well, nip it in the bud, you know.
What I just said is, why don't we wait a couple more days for your medication change to sort of settle in and figure out in that time? Why are you in such a hurry to determine that this is not going to work?
I just think it's just because so many things are saying like go.
No, but why are you in such a hurry? So many things are saying go. And I run amok. What? Astrology readings and stuff? That's demoralizing. It's like she really doesn't seem to take any responsibility for her own feelings. Like, the thing I'm being accused of doing is not anything bad. Not like, I don't like the way you talk to me. I don't like the way you treat me. I don't like the fact that you're not available to me emotionally or intellectually or in other way right now. But there's no possible human being she could be with that would be more available to her overall than me. It's crazy. It's like, why is there no comparison against the alternative, just comparison against an ideal? I mean, who thinks that the person they want to be with, can never be distracted by anything else? Yeah, please say what you're going to say. She needs hobbies and friends of her own. I agree, but I can't create that for her. She needs to be fair. I mean, she's being incredibly spoiled. Just shockingly incredibly spoiled. It's like, I offer her everything and give her everything of myself, just about. And I need her to want me to have mine too. So, I want her. She ought to want me to have those days where I'm doing my thing and that I like to do independent of her. So, I don't know. I'm at a bit of a loss at this point. I've done everything I can to communicate effectively with her that, she has to be fair to me. She wants to create a circumstance in which I'm walking on eggshells all the time. That if it happens again, she's going to leave me. Well, I'm not going to get back together with her under those terms. Nothing happened. I didn't do anything to her. I just didn't pay attention to her for a few days. So it's like I can't operate under those conditions. And this is why I haven't gotten back together with her yet. It's because when I try to talk to her about it, it's clear she doesn't really want me. If she really wanted me and loved me, she wouldn't be saying things like, if you mess up again, I'm leaving you. When I didn't do anything wrong, I just wasn't, I didn't have my attention on her for a few days. And it's not like I was absent. I did have my attention on her a lot during those few days. It just was, there were a couple of stretches during those few days where I was fully distracted and not really looking to engage in stuff with Rachel that wasn't related to the work. So I don't know. It's like I'm trying to determine, is this really her position or what? I mean, she keeps going back and forth. I don't want to be broken up. Okay, so, but she then in the next breath she'll tell me, but if it happens again, I'm leaving you. Okay, but so we need to basically understand, first of all, we need to be in agreement about whether or not I did anything bad and whether or not your reaction is proportional. You know, and whether or not it's fair or reasonable, and also whether or not any comparison against a realistic alternative suggests there's a better option for you. I mean, that's a factor too. But yeah, I need her to be happy for me when I get to do something that I really like to do that doesn't include her. Yeah, she should understand that. And she should respect that. But that's why I don't think I still don't think she's in fully sane mode yet. It's she's getting there, but it's like I'm passionate about the work that I'm doing. I'm passionate about it. I'm also aware that I don't really spend much time doing the work I'm really passionate about. Very little time. It takes a certain amount of extra motivation for me to, for example, work on and make music. I'm not thrilled with the song that I made this time, I don't think, but I'm planning on uploading it to the music channel today at some point. I make a video of it since, you know, I would like for Rachel and I to be happy and at peace and watching some TV and stuff today. And I don't feel especially worky. I'd rather kind of chill out, but that's not an option right now. It's like, the scary thing is I don't know if, in fact, you know, because she doesn't seem particularly insane right now at all. She seems pretty head on shoulders straight. Well, I mean, she felt neglected. The thing is, I understand the fact that she felt neglected during this period of time. And I also understand the fact that there was a stark contrast to what had come before. So I'd spent a lot of time really paying attention to her a lot for a long time before, making her central to my activities. I'd had a couple of work stretches before. She hadn't had a problem with them before, but they were probably a little less extreme than this one. This one, it coincided with her having shit going on. And that, I don't know. It's like she's not drawing conclusions in a reality where reasonable expectations are the norm. She's drawing conclusions in a reality in which she's always perfectly satisfied, I guess. And if she's not perfectly satisfied, then this reality must change. I mean, I was raised that way too. I've actually come to learn that being a productivity addict, which I used to be, is not the best thing in the world. But I mean, my self-esteem is fine. This isn't going to damage me no matter what, self-esteem wise or anything. It's going to hurt because I actually believe my narratives about this person being the right person for me. We're unbelievably compatible when she's not doing this shit. My self-esteem is not going anywhere. My self-esteem is fine. I don't really feel like it's possible for people to damage me anymore. Is there an inherent sense of, I mean, look, I'm susceptible to sort of self-pitying narratives like, this is what, everybody wants to throw me away. See, everybody thinks I'm just trash once they get to know me or something like that. I could make those narratives, but I mean, the fact is, I have an understanding of the reality of things. The reality of things is, I am much more fully realized than most people. And I do, in fact, I am an excellent relationship partner. I do it all right. But very few people can operate with enough fearlessness to do that. People are consumed by their fears, and it makes them make mistakes that sometimes are mistakes I can't tolerate, like without considerable accommodation. Like, she needs to come around narratively about why I should get back together with her before I'm going to get back together with her. It's a condition of that happening. So in that regard, it's like I can't ignore what's been said and what's happened and everything, but I can accept that that's not the dominant narrative. I can accept that that represents deviance from what she actually believes, but she's going to have to convince me of that. She's not there yet, but she might get there as the medication stabilizes. I'm not sure. She says she's depressed, but that's not part of her mental illness profile. In other words, depression is not part of what she experiences. She experiences manic episodes and then not manic episodes. She doesn't experience depressive states. So that she's depressed right now would indicate that she's just feeling sad and depressed right now, not that it's anything to do with the medication. But it's hard to say. It might have anything to do with the medication change. So, I get it when somebody says, I'm not happy is a plenty good reason to leave a relationship. It is a plenty good reason to leave a relationship. I'm not happy is all the reason you need. But here's the thing about that. What does it mean I'm not happy? Do you are you factoring in time frame, and are you factoring in responsibility for feelings? Because there are times when a person is responsible for your bad feelings. So if I were saying mean things to her, I would be responsible for her bad feelings. And there are times when the other party is not responsible for your bad feelings. So you have to make a determination as to whether your bad feelings stem from something within you that needs to be addressed, or something that is in the relationship that needs to be addressed, or something about your partner that needs to be addressed. Just because your partner behaves in a certain way on a certain occasion doesn't mean that there's something implicit to your partner that means he's always going to behave that way. And just because you don't like the way that somebody behaves doesn't mean that they're doing anything wrong. And those are all important things. It's like if you hurt my feelings by sort of not prioritizing me enough, my first thought is to respect that you've got your own shit going on too, and you shouldn't have to prioritize me that much. However, it's different in a relationship. You should prioritize your partner a lot more than anybody else. So then the question is, okay, well, if you're not prioritizing me, partner, what are you prioritizing instead, and what's the time frame look like? So the fact is, what I was prioritizing instead was working on things. I wasn't going off to have fun with my friends while leaving her at home or anything like that. It was working on things. Even if it had been going off to have fun with my friends but leaving her at home, that's okay. It's okay for us to sometimes have occasional things that we do independent of each other. That's what it means to not be codependent, Might be a mixture of things. Feeling neglected due to your work, and apparently she thinks you got aggressive when she confronted you about it while she has no work or friends or hobbies and is going through a medication switch. Well, I did get aggressive when she confronted me about it because she didn't talk to me about it as something to address. She talked to me about it as an indication that we were not meant to be together. The first thing I heard about it was how it was basically a good reason why we should break up. So I got mad about that because that's the wrong frame. That's telling your partner, you finally get comfortable and I pull the rug out from under you. So, if you're going to be in a relationship, you need to be comfortable that your partner's not going to pull a fast one on you all of a sudden. That they're not Dread Pirate Robertsing you. You did a great job today. Sleep well. I'll probably kill you in the morning. And nobody can operate under those conditions. So, Rachel said she didn't want to be broken up, but then she also said, well, if you do that again, I'm out of here. Except I didn't do anything to her. So why would that be a deal breaker? If I work again, she's gone? It doesn't make any sense, right? There's no indication that I am doing anything wrong at all. Now, I did yell at her and I got mad and stuff when she approached me about this thing as something that meant we might not, possibly shouldn't be together. Because, of course, I'm operating under the expectation that my relationship is as it appears to be. It's like when you're going along and she's saying all these wonderful things, and we're both saying all these wonderful things to each other, and I get comfortable that, okay, this relationship is solid, it's safe. I can turn around now for a second and work on something. And when I turn back, she'll be the same. She'll be happy to see me and, oh, glad you're done working. Welcome back. Instead, I discovered that my trust was very poorly placed. That, in fact, the constancy and certainty and safety that I afford her in a relationship is not something she's willing to afford me. No, Rachel is not thinking of her options. She did text her dad or email her dad or something or call him, and he said he wants her to try to work it out first before he does anything else. Yeah, that's kind of a catch-22, and I pointed that out as well. The reason she likes me is because of the stuff I do, not because of who I am, ultimately. It's like if I hadn't had a YouTube channel, she wouldn't be my girlfriend. And so, you got to let me be me. Get me. You got to still let me be me. You can't say, now that you're my boyfriend, you're no longer you. And you see, the thing is, Rachel wouldn't argue about any of this. She would just say, in this state of being anyway, that, see, this is why we're not meant to be together. We're not good for each other. Blah, blah, blah. That's all she'd say in response to this. She wouldn't take to heart the idea that we have agency and we make choices. And when I'm telling you, well, we should deal with it like this, and we don't, and she should say, oh, okay, then yeah, you're right. I should deal with it like that. And that's going to change my approach going forward. Instead, she just says, oh, see, that's why we're not meant to be together. I think some people sometimes forget the consequences of their mental illness and think it'll be safe to get off meds because they're fine and maybe meds are a nuisance. Rachel didn't get off of her meds here. She didn't stop taking them. They're just, we're going through a switch. I have some tough decisions to make here. I can wait it out. But I think if you want a mature, secure relationship, it gives you enough room, and perhaps you need to do some thinking. I mean, I think Rachel needs to do some thinking. I already know what my thinking is. My thinking is, I need to hear the right things from Rachel, and then I'll be happy to get back together with her, and we'll be good. If her thinking doesn't produce those right words for me ultimately, then we're still broken up, and eventually she's gonna have to go home or go someplace else, because obviously I'm not gonna live with her if we're broken up. But there's no ticking clock on this, and I'm perfectly willing to wait it out for a few days and see what goes down. I've indicated to Rachel I'd like for her to talk to the psychiatrist about her reasoning here and see what he thinks about it. And she agrees with that. The thing is, I know that if she does end up leaving me, she'll regret it. No, I told her this morning what she needed to hear. She asked specifically, and I said, I need to hear that you agree. But then you guys are talking about yesterday, not this morning, aren't you? Because that's exactly what happened this morning. She asked me what I needed her to agree to, and I explained, I need you to agree to the basic frame that both parties need to be safe in the relationship. That is to say that both parties can relax and know that if there is a problem, it'll be talked about as a problem to solve for quite a long time before it's ever considered as a problem that indicates you should leave the relationship. And, the problem was, when I ask her questions, it's not really what the right thing to say is. It's just that when I asked, like, well, give me some more information, and she says, well, if it happens again, I'm going to leave. That tells me very clearly that she's not on the right page. It's not a matter of she doesn't even know what the right thing to say is. That's where she is right now. She's at the notion that she very, very possibly doesn't want to be in this relationship because of the experience of feeling neglected when I'm working. And she's not willing to, she's still operating under that frame. So it's not that she's not saying the right thing. It's that she's genuinely not in the right place intellectually here at all. She's in the wrong frame. If she's thinking that if Eric does this again, she's leaving, is an acceptable approach to anything, then obviously she's not in the right frame. I didn't do anything wrong. She knows this, but she doesn't know what to do with the fact that she doesn't feel good about it. So, you see what I'm saying? It's not that she doesn't know what the right thing to say is. It's that she isn't saying the right thing because she doesn't believe the right thing. She believes the wrong thing, so she's saying the wrong thing. She believes that it is appropriate for her to leave me if I get too distracted and work again. And if it's a deal breaker for her, for real, and it's a deal breaker for me, then it does need to end, sure. The thing is, my point is, that's not actually a deal breaker for her. If it's a deal breaker for her, then she has created for herself an expectation for a relationship that is impossible for anybody to meet. It's not possible for her to ever be happy with anybody. It's not possible for anybody to be well matched with her, because nobody's going to be so perfectly well matched that she's always happy no matter what, because that person has full responsibility for her happiness in every moment and is actively making her happy in every moment. It's just impossible and insane, right? That's not a disagreement between us about what ought to be. That's one person being completely insane. Yeah, she did. I agree with you. She did say that. My point is, I'm not in any massive hurry. I can wait a few days to see if her narratives evolve. And if they don't, if she locks into those narratives and that's really her position, well, then that's really her position. How am I feeling? Challenged. She is in a difficult spot right now. I mean, Octavia Silva, why don't you text her? You were texting her the other night. I appreciate that a lot. Let her know that you're there to listen if she wants, and that, that you're on her side or something. I don't know. Because the thing is, the situation is such that she's not talking to me in any kind of negotiation way. She's not operating within a frame that says things that happen between us are things that can easily be solved by talking. She's operating in a frame that says, if I note a problem, it's systemic and, killing of the relationship. Again, though, she's not thinking of alternatives at all. When she leaves me, she is even more isolated, not less isolated. I mean, the thing is, it's like when one person is providing for you for most of your needs, but not all of them, why would you blame the person who's providing you most of your needs for the failure to have all of your needs provided for? It just doesn't make any sense, I'm a very giving person, and I bent over backwards to make things such that Rachel's happy and comfortable. In other words, I don't ask anything of her that she doesn't feel like doing at any given moment. I don't pressure her to do anything. I don't critique her for what she's doing or not doing. Well, I mean, right now she's a burden, but that's because of, look, the thing is, it's very disrespectful and insulting what she's doing here, because it's saying to me, that doing things just right isn't good enough. It has to be perfect, or else you're not good enough for me. That's what she's saying. And I've done nothing to make her feel like a burden. I've done nothing but love her and cherish her. So I don't know what to do about that then. I mean, the other thing, Alexander Cruz, is right now is not the time to go do that because of all the quarantine shit. It's like there's a limited amount of things you can do. We're kind of locked down here. Maybe she's got a bit of cabin fever. I don't know. I'm not giving her a few days to reconsider. We haven't resolved the point yet. She does want to be together. She doesn't want to have broken up with me, but she's unwilling at the moment to provide me the kind of reassurance I need to get back together with her. So I want to be with her. She wants to be with me, but I'm still waiting for us to make sure that we're on the same page. If we're not on the same page, and after a few days of trying to determine what page we're each respectively on, then I can't make any progress, and she sort of locks into her position, then fine. But remember, what everybody here seems to ignore is that we have 7 months of data not 1 week of data. So that's why I'm giving her a few days to think about this, because I actually love her, and I actually yeah, that's a good point, Octavio Silva. But I can't create those life circumstances, and it seems like she's determined to blame me for her experience regardless, and that's where we're stuck at the moment. She thinks I'm responsible for her feelings regardless. Yes, one night can taint 7 months of bliss, and it depends on the wrongdoing done. But the thing here is, it's a very precise question, or a much more specific question than is usually the case. Here, the question is this Rachel talking to me, or is this Rachel's mental illness talking? Now, when she is stable and medicated and stuff, she's one way. When she's not, she's another way. Right now, she's a third way that I've not seen before, and I'm not sure what it is. So I'm waiting it out and seeing what it is. I'd also like her to talk to the psychiatrist about her reasoning and see what the psychiatrist thinks, if it's sane reasoning or not. And so my dad used to exercise a lot. He would always go. I had to run jogging races and stuff when I was a kid with him. It was fucking horrible. Thing is, that's what I keep stressing to her, to myself, and to the world, is there's no urgency here. The big problem occurred because, as almost always it does, people go to SE too soon. They go out of NE and into SE too soon. She should never have broken up with me. That's SE. Pulling the trigger. I want you to take action, then now you got a new mess to clean up. Now there's actually problems and we've got to deal with shit. As long as you're just operating in conditionality land, it's safe. It's easy to backpedal. So is it possible that this one stretch of difficulty here with Rachel breaking up with me will taint or kill, will make render the rest of the data irrelevant, and we'll end up breaking up? It's possible. I mean, the problem here, Nicolay Shea, that she's complaining about is that I gave her too much space, that I neglected her for a few days because I was working on stuff, that I was not emotionally connected with her enough. So, yeah, we have plenty of space to give each other. She's in the master bedroom right now, chilling. I'm out here chilling. And, you know, it's easy to be with her. When she's not hurting my feelings. And she doesn't hurt my feelings, it's easy to be with her. This hurts my feelings a lot. I feel dramatically undervalued. And so, you know, it's like I'm explaining to her, trying to explain to her, you need to convince me I'm not dramatically undervalued before I'm going to get back together with you, or I'm just setting myself up to have my feelings hurt again. And in fact, when I double checked, you know, like, she says, yeah, if it happens again, I'll leave you. Well, okay, we're definitely not on the same page, not remotely on the same page. Is she able to go back to New York at the moment? I think so. I think we could get her a plane ticket. No, I mean, look, Octavio, I need something solid. I can't have that. I can't have this, like, are we not? What is this thing? I can't have that. I can't operate like that. I need to know what it is and both people on the same page about what it is. She's not on the same page with me right now, and that's not what this is. This is not something that's, well, maybe we shift what we're doing. No, that's, if I'm doing that, then that means I'm not in a safe relationship. And that's not what I want to be. I don't want to be in an unsafe relationship. I want to be in a safe relationship. So what I'm trying to say is it's still possible that Rachel can convince me that I'm in a safe relationship, but she's going to have to do that. And so far, she hasn't done that. And every time I say to her, look, when I say to her, you would never tolerate what you're asking me to tolerate, I get no response for that. She's just silent in response to that. I never heard her respond to that, really. The fact that she would not be okay if I were doing this to her seems very obvious. I'm not sure if I really want to be with you, but stay around here and sleep with me, and I might kill you in the morning, Red Pirate Roberts thing. She would not be okay if I were doing that to her. So that proves that it's not okay that she's doing it to me. I went out of my way to say to her, it is not the point. It is not the truth that if this happens again, in other words, you have another mental health episode after December. I never said this to her. I never said, if this happens again, we're done. Nope. Because that would be unfair to her. What I said to her was the opposite. If this happens again, it's cool. We'll figure it out. We'll work through it. We'll come out the other side stronger for it. That's how to be in a good relationship. Right. That's why I don't think this is her talking. But this is a third way of being that I've not seen from Rachel before, where she seems stuck on ideas that I would call obsessive thoughts, but she's not displaying the other symptoms of bipolar mania that I associate normally with her having an episode. So it's, in that regard, it's a little confusing to me as to what exactly is going on here. She doesn't seem like she's in a manic episode, and we've already established that in general she doesn't have depressive episodes, but that right now she feels kind of depressed. So is this, I don't know what it is. And that's why I'm very patient about, it could be that. It could be that Swift Eagle, but I've not gotten enough clarity from her to determine that's the case, That's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out what she really wants, and it's difficult to tell because there's a lot of challenging kind of contradictions here that I'm not getting clarity about, and I don't think she's really considering, and I don't know what to make of it all. Certainly, the important thing is, remember, Swift Eagle, this is super important. Remember that the source of this conflict is that I gave her too much space and didn't pay enough attention to her. So you got to remember how your advice last time proved exactly wrong, right? So I'm giving her plenty of space right now. I went and tried to talk to her this morning. I discovered that we're still not on the same page. And she came in here to try to talk to me, and we discovered that we're still not on the same page, because the main thing that I noted here, and this is the critical point, is we're still in a place where she's saying to me, yeah, if that happens again, then we're done, as though I did something wrong, but I didn't do anything wrong. So we're not on the same page at all. And I'm not going to operate under those conditions where if I get distracted by work again, she leaves me and feels justified in doing so because I have failed to fix the wrong behavior or something. If she's just saying, well, it's not that it's a wrong behavior, it's just that it makes me feel bad and I don't want to feel bad every month. Well, then I guess the question is, does this circumstance, I mean, I don't know how to respond to that. It's, we've never had the problem before. This is the first time it's come up. I did warn you about it ahead of time, but as you've acknowledged, she's fair. I mean, she points out, yes, you did warn me about it ahead of time. She brought that up independently of me. I didn't have to say it. But, you know, she's prioritizing her feelings. But I feel bad, therefore I feel bad. Fukoki's a brick wall. Well, text her that. Well, at least that's what she's expressing right now. And I mean, where's your mom? I've also made that comparison to her as well. Look, Rachel, I'm willing to deal with the issues that flare up because of your mental health and your need to consume these drugs, your prescription drugs. Why are you not willing to deal with my Adderall flare-ups? You know, I haven't put it exactly that way. Flare-ups is a good way to put it, but I've also mentioned that to Rachel. And the thing is, that's what I'm trying to determine. If this is a mental health issue that's flaring up, then the latter question is irrelevant. She is willing to deal with my Adderall flare-ups, and her indication that she's not is, instead of being an actual thing, is a symptom of the mental health issues that I have to deal with. And that's okay, right? Yes, I'm willing to deal with mental health issues that periodically cause her to say things like, me being on Adderall is reason for her to leave me. Provided I can conclude decisively that there's a period after the spell where her story is entirely different, right? Where there's no pushback, we're on the same page, and she's echoing my narratives or saying narratives that I would echo naturally, so that there's no distance between us in terms of what it all means. It's not that simple, says. You can talk about this for hours if you want, but you have answered your own questions. She's depressed. She's changing meds. A change in meds. You can bring that on. They're trying to bring that in. It's not that simple, is right, I think, here. I do nevertheless want to talk it out because that's just what I do. You know, I don't mean to hammer the subject to death. And, but it's like I keep, yeah, I see that. Sure, Winston's mom. This does seem to correlate with a bipolar flare up, and which is why I'm not super panicked about it and sort of waiting it out as best I can, because it may be, as It's Not That Simple says, which is she's depressed. She's changing meds. Changing meds can bring that on. They're trying to bring on mania, and just wait it out. I know. I agree, and yeah, I agree with that too, Winston's mom. I think he knows that part of her cycle is to have these periods of sort of doom and gloom where she acts out impulsively in some way. But see, it's like I still need what I need from it. And I'm anticipating that I'll get what I need from it when she's on the other side of this. If in fact that's not the case, then I'll have to revisit the issue. But hopefully it's as simple as It's Not That Simple says. And that will be determinant in the matter. Let me pull this bong rip, take a little break here. When I come back, I'll have some new topic to discuss. You could always say Eric asked me to text this to you. Because he didn't feel like getting his phone. But I would suggest that what we need to do in general is not push on her narratively right now at all. And to just sort of let her process this in her own time. I think she knows now that she made a bad decision, at least. And from that point, it's yeah, I mean, I'm done being mad at her at the moment, and hopefully for the duration of our time together, no matter how long or short it may be. To me, to successfully be in this relationship is to understand that there are periods of times when I shouldn't take it seriously, and periods of times when I should. Yeah. What's going on?
Well, it occurs to me, I know this is a little far-fetched, that I have some firearms in that closet, and it's not locked.
Okay. That's a good point. I mean, she's not like that's
And
not.
secondly, I would.
That's funny. I guess Dad still has guns. I didn't know that. I obviously haven't looked around at all. So that's cool. Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah, no problem.
He's just getting some underwear and other things out of his drawers and stuff. You eating anything this morning? You want some cereal?
Did I eat? I should have.
You want a bowl of cereal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Let me
nice.
go get the milk, okay? We've got a clean bowl right here and the cereals. Have you tried the granola?
Yeah, it's good. I like it.
Yeah, I like it too.
Have you tried the?
I haven't. The Christmas crunch?
Yeah.
No.
I want to get your opinion on it because.
Okay, well, cool. We got one bowl. We got a bowl of cereal. So you want the granola or the crunch?
I think just a little bit of the granola.
Okay.
You're right. And I've been thinking too about how it's not right. Like, me being annoyed with like Adderall thing, but like I have my thing that you have to deal with equally.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that you know that your concern about that stuff represented kind of, I guess, what you call obsessive thinking, and that you were fixated on how you felt without really thinking about what kind of things one can reasonably expect from a partner. Because you can reasonably expect me to address you feeling bad when you're feeling bad. But I don't think that, I think that we got to understand that we can't expect our partner to constantly be prioritizing.
No, I don't. It's not. I don't give a shit about you working. You have to work, but like, I do feel a distance when you are. So that's what I was saying. Is that I didn't. Your words prepared me, but the actions didn't. I wasn't ready. Like I have to experience it. Like how I say, how I know that even when I tell you about my family, it's not going to resonate until like it actually happens. It's the same thing. So like, you did warn me about what happens. You get into a cycle. It doesn't mean that I don't love you. It just means that I'm going to be focusing on something else. But like experiencing it is different. So now I know, like when you're in this kind of cycle, I have to like be occupied by myself more. And it's going to be a little bit of a challenge for me because I'm going to have to get very creative because the sources that I had to kind of like occupy myself are less now. I don't have, something up the street to go to hang out at. I don't have like the mall that's 15, but I'm just saying,
The quarantine certainly doesn't help.
Right, yeah. So that's it. Like, I experienced it. It was uncomfortable for me. And now I know, like, I have to, occupy my time with other things when you're in that mode.
Well, the other thing, Rachel, is I'm interested in managing that mode in ways that impact you as little as possible. So, in other words, I'm perfectly okay with making an effort to take more breaks, and during those breaks, give you my full attention and try to be as connected as I can. I understand that there's some sort of inherent increased disconnect that happens when I'm on speed rather than when I'm not on it. So I acknowledge that. But I would point out that from my experience, that only really persists for the first week at most. probably less than that, 4 days or something. Then I'm back to normal self, but with a little bit more purpose. And then when I go to sleepy week, I get really, really moist. But that's not my normal self either. I mean, super moist Eric is super moist Eric. It's not it's not my default state of being. So there is this cycle. We've experienced it together for a number of months now, but I will agree with you that this was the most extreme instance of it that you've witnessed. That this is the first time I said, okay, I can fully kind of relax and turn my attention directly and entirely to the work while ignoring Rachel. And I wasn't careful about that in the way perhaps I should have been.
I guess it's just an adjustment.
Yeah.
Because like I don't know if this is true, but I mean, it sounds like in your past relationships, you had enough space where you could call a designated area your space, whereas like that's not possible here.
That's not our problem.
Right, but I'm saying that it was easier. It could be. I don't know.
I had the same problem in those previous relationships. It wasn't the space or the time.
Oh.
It was the fact that the woman didn't like it. She didn't like the fact that I get called various things. Usually it's been called playing in the past. She didn't like that I was playing. Kimberly didn't like that I played too much. Candace didn't like that I played too much. Of course, I would say to them, I'm not playing. I'm doing work. That's not work. That's your hobby. Okay, well, fine, but I'm making things. When I'm done with this time that I'm spending on this thing, there will be something to show for it. That in that sense, it's productive and it is producing something. So I don't know if it's work or not, but what do you have to show for your time that you're spending on I'd ask them. And the point is, they just fundamentally didn't respect me. They just didn't respect me. So it's like the one thing you said this morning that concerns me a lot and bothers me a lot is that if this happens again, you're out of here. To me, that's just like you're really you're saying, I'll get back together with you, but you're going to have to walk on eggshells now.
All right. That was legit for you thinking and feeling like that. I personally just have to see how things go.
But what does that mean? Does it mean if, in fact, this happens again, you're leaving me?
It means that I have to see if I am actually comfortable, like, having someone who will be distant. I don't know. It's just, like, such a shift and change that, I don't know. Don't people enter relationships and they go through things and they see how they deal with it, and either they deal with it together or they deal with it and they break up?
Well, yeah, but the thing is, you're asking me to go from a status where we were together and we were in agreement that, we weren't going to suddenly break up, but there was a gradual buildup of problems and stuff. And then all of a sudden you broke up with me. And so now I'm left in the state where, you say you want to get back together with me, but you're still saying like, yeah, but we're pulling this back. It's no longer we're together. It's now we're seeing if we can be together.
I'm not. What kind of couple would want to stay together for a long time if they're not happy? Like,
no kind of couple.
Right. So that's what I mean, is that sometimes you go through relationships and
I'm not saying, have I ever
eventually
indicated that I've never indicated that we should stay together if we're not happy. However, remember, the question is not whether we should stay together if we're not happy. The question is, yeah. All right, thanks. It's, should you leave me when you don't feel happy? That's the question. And you're saying, yes, I should leave you when I don't feel happy, and I shouldn't factor in whether this is a temporary thing, whether we can solve the problem, I should interpret things as indicative that we are meant to be together, even before I get a chance to solve the problem or address the problem.
Yes, I hear you. All right. So I would want to work on it too before leaving as well, just like any kind of separation, right? So like when people separate, don't they go through a time where they want to patch you up first?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have had an opportunity to work on things before you broke up with me.
So then let's just not have it as us broken up. It doesn't even feel like it to me.
Okay, but hold on. You say, let's just not have us broken up. But again, you broke up with me. The reason we are broke up is because you broke up with me. So I'm trying to find out if you want me to get back together with you.
Yes.
And if I do get back together with you, are you able to provide me the safe relationship that I provide you?
I think so. No one can promise anyone.
That's not what you keep. You know, I'm not asking for that.
I said yes, I can provide that for you.
Okay, so
I
what does that mean to you?
I also think it's realistic that no one can promise, like,
So what does it mean to you to give me a safe relationship?
being as honest as I can, being supportive as I can, and like loving you.
But it doesn't mean any guarantees or commitments.
No, you can commit to someone and be together for a really long time, and then in the end, you realize, wait, this isn't working.
Sure, but I'm saying, if I'm in the relationship, should I operate under the assumption that on any given morning, you might wake up and leave me?
No.
So what alternative should I have instead of that assumption?
That I won't leave out of nowhere.
Okay, and you seem to be not really committed to that notion.
No, I'm not gonna leave just out of nowhere. I can't do that.
Well, I mean, are you going to leave me if this happens again? That's what you told me earlier.
I want to try to work out something.
And also, what about the fairness issue? I get to deal with your flare-ups, right?
Yes.
And
So
if I have Adderall flare-ups, then
yeah. So then I will deal with yours too.
okay. We're getting closer to the same page. I still don't think you respect what it means to offer somebody safety and security to the assumption that we're always a long way from breaking up until either something dramatic happens or we've been at it for a
You're
while.
right. Yes, I think the grounds for a breakup should be much bigger than this.
Okay, cool. Can I count on you to behave accordingly going forward?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I guess we're back together. Cool. My dad's done with the room if you want to go back in there. But I'm not trying to get rid of you.
No, I know. I appreciate that. I'm gonna like talk a little bit and I'm gonna go back in.
Cool.
I'm glad I slept. I still feel sleepy. I can't tell if it's.
Still look sleepy. You got circles under your eyes.
I can't tell if it's like residual. Like I can't tell if it's like the Klonopin still, because he said it's long lasting.
It probably is.
So.
I'd try to go back to sleep if you can. You and I had a nice nap yesterday afternoon.
Yeah.
Um,
Did you see me last night? I mean, I slept. Like, I definitely slept.
Yeah, I slept in the bed with you for a little while.
I didn't even hear you.
I know, I could tell you were out.
That's a good thing.
So everybody, we're back together. And we seem to be on the same page about the specifics here. And that's, when people are saying, like yesterday, horse mumbler who can get a little reactive sometimes, kind of freaked out at me because she had said something that I wanted her to say, but I didn't give her credit for actually agreeing with me, and I continued to press forward. That I was moving the goalpost. Well, I wasn't moving the goalpost. This is what I needed to hear her say. That she fundamentally agrees that there's a certain responsibility to your partner's emotions in a relationship that require one to natively be some distance from breaking up. That feeling bad for a couple of days isn't enough to justify it. And so we're on the same page here. And in that regard, I'm happy to be back with her. We will hug, sure. I hugged her earlier today, and we will hug again before she goes back in there. She's going to go back in there.
I think it's frustrating too because I know like that like when you're working, usually I can like go certain places and I don't know. I feel the sense of restriction and that is difficult. It's like
today, let's go out and continue working on the driving a stick shift. So that when you want to,
I'm scared about that.
Well, I mean, that's why I'm going to be with you, teaching you for a stretch of time. When you're not scared anymore, when you're comfortable with it, then as you see fit, you can just get in the car and go somewhere. Just drive around if that's what you feel like doing. Go up to the mountains, go to the Eaton Canyon and walk around. There's a lot of places to walk around, LA,
Yeah.
The other thing is, I like what you had said as a suggestion of like meetups and stuff, but that shit obviously isn't going to happen right now during the quarantine.
Yeah.
So, maybe you could find a nice online live stream to hang out at. Maybe try talking with famous people. It really does seem like you two stopped suppressing me. Last night we had 50 people in our live stream.
Oh wow.
And Zandy suggests we go have a picnic in a nice place or the beach. Either a nice place, or if you can't find a nice place, go to the beach. Is that what you mean, Zandy? Or would you include the beach as a nice
We're
place?
supposed to go fishing, and
There
that
we
would
go.
have been. That's what I mean. Like how like the picnic part of it. Like I wanted to like have a blanket or whatever, so I could like chill and like just relax, maybe listen to music while we fish. Although I do want to maybe try it for myself too, but I thought that would be really relaxing.
I would love to go do that today. If you like it.
Is today a good day for it?
It's a little rainy, but we get dressed up nice and warm. It's not actually raining, then that'd be fun to throw our line in. Remember, it's so close. We don't have to commit to any lengthy fishing trip. We can just go down and throw our line in for 20 minutes and leave if we want it.
Yeah.
And bring the bread and take some pictures of you feeding the geese and stuff, maybe.
Yeah.
So, anyway. Yeah, the reason that she doesn't drive the car is that she doesn't know how to drive a stick shift. That's correct. That's the TE problem there. Last time I tried to teach her to drive a stick was a terrible time to try to teach her to drive a stick. That was one of the times that she was thinking about breaking up with me because I fucked up. That time, I don't blame her for being very upset because I used some poor judgment and I got us into a bit of a spot, and so I deserve to be condemned for that a little bit, and I accept that. But that's the sort of thing that I have no problem resolving to never do again. It's like if first I want to say you better not ever do that again. That's fine because that's not part of me. I made a mistake that time. It's a mistake I should learn from, and I'll try to be cautious in the future. I'll recognize that when I push things too far with the SE, Rachel reacts understandably badly to that, and I respect that entirely. So, stick shift to TE. I would not say. I mean, look, learning how to
It's
do,
kind of
figuring out how to do anything is TE, but once you've gotten it down and practiced it a bunch, then it becomes mostly an SI thing. That's probably why Zandy, you've been failing miserably. Is you have to develop kind of muscle memory, and muscle memory is an SI thing. So Rachel actually picked it up really quickly.
Oddly enough, though, it's like I find myself being able to do like mechanical feats under pressure. Yeah, that's it. Like if you want, like,
And you don't like it. You
no,
don't like having to perform.
No,
mechanical
and then-
things
but
under
I do
pressure.
it.
Yeah, you succeeded for sure.
because it's kind of so like even when like I got into that almost accident when I was like being reckless on the road during a rainstorm. So like I'm driving down the road, I'm dancing in my car, it's raining, someone stops short. I quickly like step on the brake, check my mirror to see it's clear, turn over. But like when I'm not in that state like of pressure, I just kind of like just go along. Like it's not, you can't. It's like a different kind of feeling. I don't know. It's so weird.
It's
Like, I remember-
NISE. It's when you're NIing in real time. That means that's a timing thing. So your extroverted sensing is being driven by your introverted intuition. So it's quite good. It's just that you're flipping there.
Yeah.
And so, and that's not as natural a flip as it is for me, because you're going from what's basically a metaphysical function to what's basically a physical function. Whereas for me, the metaphysical part of SI is more easily referenced and understood. I use my memories a lot, or what I've already experienced a lot, in a lot of ideational stuff. SI and NE work together more natively than do NI and SE.
Yeah, because yeah, it's true. It's like a very quick reaction. Like I was taking the bus this one time, and I was talking on the phone, and I saw out of the corner of my eye this like guy in a wheelchair like topple over, and all his stuff goes, and like I jumped off the bus without even thinking, like, to help him, and like. But if I hadn't had that reaction, if it wasn't, I would have just been like. So it's only like quick pressure. If you want me to do like over a long span of time, it never works out. I get clumsy. I get very clumsy.
Yeah, it's fourth slot SC. The thing is, I have a similar relationship to NI and SE. In the moment when the circumstance calls upon it, I will swerve and somehow escape, and be fine. Or like, for example, when I'm driving and I get this sense that the person in front of me doesn't know I'm behind them and is going to come over here suddenly, I just sort of get this NI sense of, without being able to parse it out at all. It's not like you can think out all the specific cues. You just go like, I better pull back here. And then you step on the brake and go back. And then the guy does all of a sudden come swerve over. And you're like, how did I know that was going to happen?
Yeah.
That's NI and SE working together in the physical plane. But yeah, for me, they're both autopilot things and they work quite well. It's not like with Rachel where she's very aware of that shift. For me, it's ignored almost entirely. It happens, then I'm past it and I don't really think about what I did intentionally at all. This tooth is about to come out. It wiggles back and forth, so I've been wiggling it a little bit.
On the bottom?
It's just a little piece of tooth in this very back one. The rest of the tooth is broken out since then. I've had a hole there mostly, except there's this one piece that's still in there.
Yeah.
It's totally ready to come out. I just need to find some regular dental floss, not like a sword, but the string kind, so I can tie around it.
There.
Is it? I thought it was too, but I didn't see it.
Drill.
Ah.
I've been using it.
Are you guys ready to see a tooth get pulled out? The exciting dental work of Eric. Let me pull this bottom right first, and then I'm going to do some makeshift dental work. I know it's been raining off and on. But let's give this a shot and see how it works. It's interesting. This is not the first time. In fact, it's at least the second time I can think of where Rachel ultimately came to me and said, "I'm siding with you because of this fairness issue. Namely, it's only fair that I deal with your Adderall flare-ups because you deal with my flare-ups."
I kept on thinking about that.
It's interesting that Winston's mom threw that out there this morning as in a very effy, careful way as a possible narrative. It's interesting that an NI type with TI third slot valuing, that's the NI that ends up being definitive for you.
Yeah. Well, like, it was more like, and I mentioned this in the beginning of this fight or whatever that we had, this problem, was that like I wanted to pre-know how to behave during this time.
You wanted to pre-know. Yeah, you like to pre-know.
Mm.
That's a good way to put it. Pre-know.
Yeah, so that like, oh, he's in work mode, so this means that I read a book. But I didn't prepare myself. So I felt like I didn't know, plus
You
I
felt
had my ears
abandoned.
thing, plus like other stuff was like piling on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like I had no like, I couldn't remember like the tools to use in order to like calm myself down. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't have any real books. I mean, there's books to read, but maybe on my laptop, or even, you know what's great?
Did you find your laptop?
Yeah. Oh wait. No, I didn't.
When I went in there last night, you were fast asleep, but you had the phone right like under your cheek playing one of my live streams.
Oh, it's funny.
I don't remember which one it was, but I removed it from there and turned it off and put it on the bedstand next to you.
Thanks. I don't know where my laptop. Wait. Okay. So, laptop. Oh, it's packed away.
All right, because you hacked your rags. This is a game we play periodically called Pack Our Bags. Hurts and I have played it for a while now. Okay, I got it around it. I could just yank it. I like anal goy. And anal goy is a non-Jewish person who likes anal sex. That's a Ninja analogy.
Yeah, it's in here.
I need to tie it around so I can do the slam the door thing. It requires too much pride or too much like self will to do it without tying it. Let's try it. Yeah, work balance is important. You know, I think I got a good balance overall. And it is fair when your partner wants attention that you should take that seriously. I know sometimes I want attention, you know?
What was that? I felt like there was something. I want to just say guarding.
God damn it. Why is this so difficult? I need to make most of the knot before I put it around my tooth, and then finish the knot after it's around my tooth. I can't make the knot after it's around my tooth. But please don't let me interrupt you if you think about what it is you want to say, Richard. Some good TE, Eric. Getting this, looping it ahead of time rather than putting the string around and then building a loop. Build the loop first and then put it around the tooth. That's good TE.
It is. Where are the small bags for the small bins? Do you know?
Small bags for the small bins. Oh yeah, the trash bags.
Yeah.
We just use the kitchen trash bags, I think.
Oh, okay.
Damn it! I unsuccessfully tied this. Though I suspect someone out there wants a 3-year-old child to drive. I know there are dogs driving around on YouTube, so Freud's horse named Id probably has a channel. It's an odd comment. Not sure what to make of all that. What's a moil? The word sounds familiar, but I don't know what a moil is. All right, let's try this again. This time it's personal. Oh. The guy who circumcises people is called a moil? I didn't know that. That's funny. Okay. Yeah, tooth. I said I can't manage to tie it around the tooth. It's very much in the back. I wonder if there's a lot of money in that. In circumcision. No, in circumcision.
Definitely.
You see,
There's a lot of money in it.
It's the only medical procedure I can think of that is sometimes done out of a hospital that people don't have a problem with. Like people have a big problem with midwives. Like, oh, you can't have your kid outside of a hospital. But they don't have a problem with that. Where do they do that? Where does the rabbi who does that do that?
In the house.
In the house?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a big thing. You have everyone over. I'm not sure if the circumcision happens in front of people. I believe it does. But yeah, it's a big celebration.
Everybody, look at this boy's penis. Watch as I chop it. Penis chopping party. Okay, I think it's tied onto it. Here we go, everybody. Are you ready for the party of a lifetime? Hopefully these won't hurt too badly. I want to slide off of that thing. Maybe I should. Yeah. Okay. He sucks the blood with his mouth? Why? Why would he do that? It's kind of gay, isn't it? Yeah, are you ready? That's scary. I'm building up the courage to do it. Do I have a towel ready? Why do I want a towel? I'm not taking a shower. I'm gonna give myself a migraine. It's just a little teeny speck of tooth. It's very loose and it'll come right out. It shouldn't be a problem at all. It should come right out. It's really ready to go. The tooth is long since gone. Most of it. It's just the piece left that's stuck there. Okay. Okay. I don't think it's even gonna hurt really. Might hurt a little bit. Let me get a cigarette. I smoke a cigarette first, then I'll do it. After I smoke a cigarette. Alexander Cruz really wants me to do it now. Chicken, huh? You think I'm chicken? I'm not chicken. Yeah, it's got it. It'll probably hurt. It needs to come out. No. No one's ever called me Slim, but it would be a good nickname for me. I mean, this thing's really ready to go. I keep thinking I'm going to be able to just pull it out with my fingers, but I can't quite do that. I will test for the tooth fairy if I pull this thing out. I know it's going to come right out. It's so ready to go. Oh, shit. It came off of it. It came off. I have to tie it on again. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I'm using dental floss. All right. Okay. It's tense, but I'm going to do it in a second. It's really ready to come out. I can tell when I move it around in my mouth. It's like, it's not going to be challenging. It's going to pop right out. I need to trust my knowledge here. Okay. All right, here we go. Ah, Jesus. Need a pair of pliers.
I don't have it. Yes. Debit card.
Hey, Rachel, can you do that outside so the people that hear the banking business? Okay. I got this thing. Ow. Ow. Okay. This thing's got to come out, though. It's really close to coming out. This is the perfect thing to get away. I got hydrogen peroxide. It's so close to coming out. Oh, it's ready. It's ready. Ow. I don't need a dentist for this. I'm not going to spend money to get this thing pulled out. It's very simple. It's totally illogical. If this door needs to be slammed, I should be able to slam it myself. God damn it, Eric. You're going to just have to stop pussing out and just do it. Now it's starting to hurt because you've messed with it so much. So it needs to come out for sure. It's too loose to even bite on it at all, you know? It's really ready to come out. I have to just bite the bullet and do this shit and not be a puss about it. This string's not long enough. I need a longer string attached to it, so let me add more. Because then I'm afraid it's going to break at the spot of. tie, but maybe not for you as well. How you doing, baby? She's got her earbuds in. She can't hear me. I mean, the thing is, all that there is a piece that's left in the gum. The rest of the tooth is gone. This is like, it's not like that. This is really like majorly ready. Okay. Here we go. All right. There's this string already attached to this one, too. I forgot about that. I have an extra long string now. I want to make it too long, obviously. Or then it won't work. But I do want it on the longer side, not the shorter side. All right, this seems to be about ready. Let me test the length of it. What if a stream of blood squirts out? You indeed. Well, I don't think that's going to happen. I think this thing's going to pull right out and not going to be any problems. Okay. Let's see. No, I mean, it's something that she does when she's not experiencing good mental health, Clayton. I mean, there's a difference between Rachel and who's experiencing good mental health and Rachel who's not. Rachel who's not has obsessive ideas, obsessive negative ideas, and impulsive decision making and other sort of things. But that's not the norm. When she's stable, she's not like that. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Broke the floss. I need a stronger kind of string than this. Okay, so this string is not strong enough. Well, let me try it one more time. Maybe it'll work. I could get fishing line. That's what I need. Fishing line. Or I'm gonna just go get a fishing line. I'll have to get some fishing line, and then we'll pull this fucker out, okay? Now I slammed the door once. I know I can do that, no problem. I can do that again, and it'll pull it right up. So just have the right thing attached to it. So what I need is a jacket because it's freezing cold outside. And my jacket is right here. What I also need are known as my llaves or keys in Espanol, so that I can successfully get into the car where the fishing line is. Why is the car in a fishing line? I mean, why is the fishing line in the car? You might well ask that question. Well, that would be a good question. Because we were going to go fishing until all this shit went down with the rooms and yada yada. Okay, well, I mean, it might not be a solution, and if that proves to be the case over time, fine. But my reality is this: as long as Rachel, in periods of lucidity, like she does now, is accountable. In other words, takes accountability for things, and we end up being on the same page. Then, and even if she does have underlying issues, as long as that accountability is there during those stable periods, then she'll heal from those underlying issues, because I am a loving relationship partner who interacts properly with his partner. And I really do genuinely, specifically love Rachel and say that we are incredibly incredibly compatible. So it may be that the fact that her fixated thoughts are on that kind of issue are indicative of an underlying problem, or it could be that those thoughts are indicative of an underlying expression of non-optimality. Like, we all have ways that when we're expressing non-optimally, we're expressing in way X more likely than way Z. Well, we all have that, so she's got that as well. But the real question is, does she act as does one who is damaged, or does she act as does one who is broken when she's not in a state of breakdown? In other words, it's not the case that she's never getting tested in some fashion when she's not expressing mental illness. There's an ongoing checking on my part to see if she's growth receptive or not. It's like, in the sense that if something comes up and I talk about it, it's an opportunity for growth for both of us, or vice versa if she talks about it or whatever. Mostly it's an opportunity for growth in terms of knowing what the proper way to talk about shit is and so forth. Well, I mean, that's a big claim there, Clayton McCord. You're basically saying everybody's got it framed wrong, that the mental health is the default state of the being. The mental health problem or something is the default state of the being, and there's no way to treat those expressions of those behaviors that is really addressing the problem, because the problem is systemic to the person. I mean, and I guess therefore the problem is more accurately understood as being a part of the person than as represented in behaviors. The thing is, if the behaviors go away, it's the same thing as being cured, regardless, for me, from any reasonable perspective. So I don't understand why we would switch the frame like that. It seems determined to dismiss and treat as pathological, that which can more correctly be stated as behavioral. Well, I mean, I recognize that there is damage that informs that, for sure, Clayton. But I would note that to the extent there's inherency, as you indicate, it doesn't seem to impact our relationship negatively during the default state of being, which is stable. So it doesn't impact it negatively anyway. So even if it is inherent to it, it's not a bad thing under normal circumstances. It becomes a bad thing during stages of mental health breakdown. Okay. Anyway, I gotta go get some fishing line. I'll be right back. Okay, so I got some fishing line here. I'm gonna pull this out. You know what I'm gonna do first? I'm really quite hungry, and I still have the milk out, and I think I'm going to. Where did it go? I can wash the bowl. It's great. I'm gonna have some granola. Actually, I'm gonna have the Christmas crunch. We got a really good deal on this. It's a little dated. It's not Christmas time anymore, but. But you know, it's always the right season for delicious. After that, I need to go put this milk back. I'm gonna go put the milk back right now. Oh yeah, so I'm gonna eat this, pull my teeth, and I'm gonna go inside, spend time with Rachel, and I miss her. And um, my heart hurts a little bit, you know. That's true. You know what? Then I do. You and I are in agreement, Clayton, for sure. Well, I didn't know that was really a huge amount of dispute. Mmm. Cloud than ESFP, clear as day. But you know, I think the same disclaimers I always make. I've never talked to the guy. I never actually typed him, so just speculation. For a little while longer. I gotta pull this tooth out, then I'm done streaming. Mm-hmm. At this point, I have to get this tooth out before the end of the stream. Clayton, the thing is, there's some really great ISFPs like Octavio Silva. And I don't doubt there's some great ESFPs too. I tend to do that as well, but prejudice be like, they're gonna be painless like a kitten up a tree. God, so good and satisfying that was. Just like, wow, that's some cereal. Okay, here we go. I got this thing, it's a fishing line, but I also got this. I don't think this is going to be long enough quite, but let's see. It's got a hook on the end of it. I could just try to hook the hook around my tooth, maybe. Ugh. You're squeamish, maybe you should go. I think we're probably going to come out with this. I just only had some pain. Alright, I got a tie around it and just do it. This thing is probably not the best thing. Let me try this thing here. Okay. Yes, this will be fine. This is perfect. This little twine here. This is fishing line sort of thread. I got it around it. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna. Okay. All right. Okay. Here we go. Hey. I will. I just gotta chop off this. It came off the tooth. Flip around again. There. Let's try it this time. Ah! The line stretched. It wasn't long. It was too long. That hurt. I need to make the line shorter. I thought it was going to be short enough, but I didn't account for the line stretching. It's got some stretch to it. That hurt. It still has a lot of stretch to it. That makes this poor thing to use, frankly. I did it again. Ow. Okay. This is. Oh, Eric. And now I can't get this string off the tooth. All right, well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to combine things then. Oh, it's starting to hurt too. Because, obviously. Ow! It hurts. She's inside the house. Surely I can do this. I just need to get the right kind of string. It's that fucking simple. It's like, why is this so much of a challenge for me? I've got an idea. Oh, it's so painful. Well, so painful is a little bit of an exaggeration. It does hurt though. Ah. Okay. I just want this fucking thing out. It hurts. Oh, I would love to debate you on evolutions, right? On evolution, right? Ruminations, maybe today or something. Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna put the tooth on hold. I'll get it next time. I'm gonna go spend some time with Rachel, but I totally want to debate evolution with you, right? Ruminations. My basic position on it is it doesn't explain anything. So see you guys later. Bye. Thank you, Zandy, for reminding me of what's important.